Hey YouTube, this is Cassidy with Sure Stitch Sewing, and this is the first part of my series on sewing with rib knits. Rib knits, from what I've learned, are the stretchiest of the knit fabrics, and it's a little bit difficult to work with, not only because it's a knit fabric, but because it can shift on you really easily. Stabilizing your seams before you stitch them is kind of going to be the name of the game here. So in order to kind of complete this whole series with me, you're going to need a few things. The first is going to be an Elmer's glue stick. This one is white. I would suggest using white always. I know that they have like the disappearing purple, but it always won't like disappear on your fabric, but you don't have to be too worried about it if your fabric's black. Like mine. I have a black rib knit. The other things you're going to need include ribbon. This ribbon was 1.5 inches wide, so I cut it down in half to stabilize the side seams and the sleeves and whatnot. You're going to need a marking utensil. Here I'm just using a water-soluble white marking pencil, but you can also use a piece of sharpened chalk, or, you know, a fabric marker, whatever works with whatever color of fabric you're using. You're going to need 100% polyester thread, and you're also going to need jersey needles. The size I use are 70-10. These are Schmetz jersey needles. You're also going to need either Wonder Clips or ballpoint pens. Ballpoint pens are very important to use when sewing knits because you can damage the fabric if you do not use a ballpoint pen. That also reminds me that the jersey needles, they're also ballpoint. That's kind of a coverall term for sharps that are used for sewing rib knits, or not just rib knits, all knits. You always want a ballpoint needle and a 100% poly all-purpose thread, top and bottom thread. You're also going to need shears. You're going to need a sewing machine, and an optional item is a rotary cutter. I found this very helpful when cutting out my pattern. And the pattern I'll be making for this series is the Agnes pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. I love this pattern. I'm actually wearing the shirt right now. This was kind of my muslin for this pattern, so excuse me if it looks like crap. You're also going to need an iron that is set between the wool and silk settings and the cotton settings. So you definitely can't see that, but and if you'll also notice, I have glitter on my iron from making my Halloween costume, so never iron sequin fabric. Lesson learned. Yeah, that's about it though. You might find a ruler helpful, and pinking shears helped me a lot when I was cutting the ribbon in half. Because the pinking shears do not allow the fabric to fray. Oh, and the most important part, you're going to need your rib knit fabric. I purchased this fabric at Joann's. It was like the clearance, you know, like their bargain fabrics, which I honestly find are really good. And it is 95% cotton and 5% spandex. It is very stretchy. Let's do it. 4 layers. Very stretchy. 1 layer. You can see through it. It's that stretchy. So keeping that in mind, the #1 most important thing you're going to want to remember when sewing with rib knit is do not, this may be a message for myself, do not pull the fabric as it feeds through the machine. Just allow the feed dogs to feed the fabric through the machine normally. Do not pull, or you'll end up with seams that look distorted, like these guys. See how that material's all stretched out? Yeah, so don't do that. This is actually going to be the sort of the band that finishes the neckline on my shirt that I'm going to be making. So we've got to redo that. If you don't have any ribbon or an Elmer's glue stick to stabilize your fabric, you can also use Heat and Bond Light. Do not use Heat and Bond Ultra on your sewing machine, or I will personally come to your house and take your sewing machine from you. You can also use that Heat and Bond tape that they have. Just also make sure it's the light. Any sort of fusible interfacing that you can stitch with that specifically says it's okay to use in your sewing machine. You know, don't be using Heat and Bond Ultra or anything like that, but because believe me, it will cause you a world of pain later. So yeah, other good things for stabilizing are twill tape, and also that like clear elastic that sometimes comes in ready-to-wear garments for like hanging it over the hanger. I will link in the description box to what I'm talking about because I know that's very vague. So that about covers it for stitching with ribbed knits, the very basics. I'm going to show you in the next video the stitch I use for sewing with this fabric, and also how wide and long it is, and everything like that. So I hope this was a good overview, and please stay tuned for this series on sewing with ribbed knits. My name is Cassidy, and I'm with Sure Stitch Sewing, and I want to thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, Sure Stitch, and I would really appreciate that. So if you guys have anything else you'd like to learn about or hear about, I can definitely make videos about those subjects. So feel free to leave comments below. I encourage any kind of feedback, positive or negative. I'm just starting out on YouTube, and yeah, want to get started. So thank you guys again for watching, and have a good night.